Ooh, welcome to the Great Old Ones channel. Let me get this squared away. All right, there we are. Hey, this channel, I talk about role-playing games. I like games. I talk about role-playing games a lot. Tonight's game of choice is going to be First Edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Seems to be a regular thing here on Thursday nights, but I will vary it up here or there as I find the need to do so, or based on your comments too. Uh, Well, I got comments already. Peaches and herb, I love them. Oh, good deal, awesome. I don't know if we'll be talking about peaches, but we could get there. Herb is coming along. Let me answer some of these. All right, let's see. I got John Collins here, Gonzalo Lira's Bar Tab. Of course, Gonzalo's here to heckle me once again. We got Joe Kaufman and Dr. John Smith. So great. Thanks for you guys popping in and having a listen to the stuff that I'm going to ramble on about this evening. The choice was poisons and herbs. And to cover a little bit of what the Dungeon Master's Guide has to say, and then some of the articles out of the Dragon magazines that cover it as well for additional information. Ptolemachus came for the poison but stayed for the herbs. Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm going to be covering that herb specifically, but it might enter into it. Yeah. Let's see. What else could we go for here? Would like to, should have done this weeks ago, but I would like to recognize um, my first official patron, sponsor, supporter, however you want to go. Dungeon Master D did buy me a coffee. I appreciate that very much. That he has that much confidence in my abilities to talk nonsense that he went and bought me coffee. As I understand it, though, the Bailey's is my responsibility, so I'll cover that. Yeah. What else do we got here? Oh, my banners are up and running. Some good questions. One of you had mentioned before. Well, what exactly are you covering? So I'm going to pop this on there real quick. The Dragon magazine issues that the articles that I will be talking about this evening comes out of these: 18, 32, 59, 81, 82, 269, 273, and 301. Bingo. No, there's no letters involved in that. Okay. But those are the ones that I'll be talking about. So now that they're in there, they'll show up on any sort of shorts and stuff that we make out of it. Um, First and foremost, though, I will be adding to the stage. Oh, remove other media from the. There we go. The page out of the Dungeon Master's Guide that covers poisons. And I will zoom in on this a little bit to make it a little bit easier for us to look at. Assassin's use of poison is basically where this comes into play because there's where you should be interested in poisons as far as player characters and stuff go. Uh, Not supposed to tell them that they can make their own poisons, but that's not until ninth level anyway. Uh, Covers a bunch of other things in this article quickly about how to make the poison, all that kind of thing. But the main thing I wanted to get after was the poison types. The poison of monsters, regardless of its pluses or minus to the victim's saving throw, is an all or nothing affair. That is, either they do no damage or they kill the victim within a minute or so. Poison potions generally do the same, although you may optionally elect to have any given one be slow acting so that the victim will notice nothing for 1 to 10 hours after quaffing it. Monster poisons are all effective either by ingestion or insinuation of the body and bloodstream of the victim. Poison potions must be ingested if you allow poison use by characters in your campaign. Users can purchase ingestive or insinuative poisons only, having to obtain dual use poisons from monsters. Purchased poisons are classified and priced as follows. So it goes into here the different types, and some of the other articles also use these letters and stuff for the type of poisons, just to make it easier running across um, the different versions and stuff that they're going through. Ooh, Stephen Kennedy has joined us as well. Booze is good. Ah, yes, that is that can be considered a poison. I guess it would be the quantity. I guess would be the booze, whether or not it's a poison or not. So the different types here, these are poisons for the player characters' ends that they're going to use. These aren't all or nothing affairs for the most part. These are damage causing. They also have an onset time on here as how long it takes for these things to actually take effect on the character. This is definitely useful information. You could go further into it. Let's see what I got here. Just answering comments as we go along. Let's see. So the different types, saving throws and additional things like this. So one could argue, I know that what they said up there in that first paragraph is poisons are an all or nothing affair, but you could actually have durations and stuff like this. You could use this as an example, put your durations in. Just because the snake bit you doesn't mean it's instantaneous. It could take a little bit of time to get to you. So this is useful information to use on top of it. Let's see, more on the use of poisons in here because it goes into the extra bits of the table there up here at the top. Saving throw +2, saving throw +1. These go along with the asterisks that are on there. And you'll see when we get into some of the other articles, additional information that goes with it. Also, saving throws, right? Poison saving throws, it covers different poison saving throws for characters. For those who wonder why, let me read it over here so I'm facing you guys. For those who wonder why poison does either killing damage, usually, or no harm whatsoever, recall the justification for character hit points. That is, damage is not actually sustained, at least in the proportion to the number of hit points marked off in most cases. The so-called damage is the expenditure of favor from deities, luck, skill, and perhaps a scratch, and thus the saving throw. If that mere scratch managed to be venomous, then death. If no such wound was delivered, then no damage from the poison. In cases where some partial damage is indicated, this reflects poisons either placed so that they are ingested or used as to ensure some small portion does get into the wound or skin of the opponent. So there's why your saving throws are an all or nothing thing. It's another way of whittling away at your luck. And then poison saving throws for monsters are here as well as should be fair to both sides, right? There are exceptions to death or damage rule for poison. Any creature with a thick layer of fat, where blood vessels and nerves are virtually non-existent, will be totally immune to poison from creatures which are not able to penetrate this fat layer when injecting their poison. All swine, wereboars included, will be in this protected class. Similarly, very large creatures poisoned by very small ones are not likely to be affected. Even the poison of the deadly coral snake would not be likely to harm an Apatosaurus. There we go. Well, yeah, I would say so. Giants would simply smash giant centipedes without fear of their poison, which would cause a swelling and rash, perhaps at worst. Whenever a situation arises where poison is involved, consider both of these cases in reaching a decision. So your decision on just what kind of tough hide your monsters have in relation to whether or not poison would get through to them. There's just some guidance here when it comes to that. Also, different types of poisons and stuff. What armor does it protect you against poisons or anything like that? They list that sort of thing in here. Under your potion, you got a poison potion. A poison potion is simply a highly toxic liquid in a potion flask. Yes, and it's supposed to look like every other potion that's out there. Typically, poison potions are odorless in any color. Right? Ingestion, introduction of the poison through a break in the skin, or possibly just skin contact will cause death. Poison can be weak, +4 to +1 on saving throw, average or deadly, -1 to -4 or more on the saving throw. Some poison can be such that a neutralized poison spell will simply lower the toxicity level by 40%, say from a -4 to a +4 on a saving throw potion. You might wish to allow characters to hurl poison flasks. See combat. So here's some extra. One of the problems, I guess you can say, with the Dungeon Master's Guide is they don't have everything collected in an easy to find format or something like this. It's all broken up, and you got to look in different places to find this sort of thing. Although it is indexed fairly well, you just got to flip through it, which is great. We discussed this a few weeks back on when my daughter commented that a PDF is fantastic because you can search it. Let's see, we got a question here from, let me go ahead and pop this on. Oh, got a couple of them here. Were assassins capable of crafting poison gas? Yeah, I think it was loose enough that you could do so. Um, it didn't specifically prohibit it. It just said most of the poisons that they were going after were things like insinuative or injected poisons. Let's see. Rabbit says, what about drinking snake venom? I wouldn't advise it. As far as the game stuff goes, it's still poisonous. However, it gets into your bloodstream is another thing. Maybe I would perhaps make it give you really good saving throw against it if you drank it, because your digestive system would try to break it down before it absorbed it into the system. Plus, it would just tear up your throat and all the way. That's not to inject any realism into this game now. It's not designed for realism. Let's see, another question here. Can you get multiple uses out of a vial of poison? One bought the player handbook prices. Well, that would be specific to the poison itself. I think most of them are specified as single use as far as pricing and stuff goes. Did they have prices on here? If I remember, let's go back and look at it. Cost, yeah. As far as I can say, can tell these things are all, say, single-use poisons. So if you wanted a multi-use cost per dose, you would get a type A. You would pay 10 gold pieces for a 2-dose vial. Right. Hopefully that answers her question there. Always love the picture of the rust monster. I have no idea what that has to do with poison. He's just terrifying to paladins and anybody wearing armor and anybody else have metal weapons and things like this. Ooh, are you guys experiencing lag? Is it me or is it just you? Could be the poison I fed you. Buffering. Interesting. Let's see what I got going on my internet connection. Hardly anything, I would believe. Ethernet. I am barely dribbling out on my Ethernet. Oh, let's see. Player's Handbook 29 talks about a poison blade and being noticed 10% per melee round with would-be victim goes for City Watch, but wouldn't having a drawn weapon be enough to know they're hostile? Yeah, you're right. Walking around with a drawn weapon is, well, it depends on what the weapon is. A spear, right? Clearly that doesn't have a sheath or anything like that, but you should be able to see, what is that, caustic substance dripping off the blade of your spear. Yeah. And as I understand it, I may have mentioned it on this channel once, learned a while back that a common walking stick for medieval peasants was not a stick, but was a spear. They carried them for defense and stuff when they're out on the road. All right. You're mostly good. Well, I don't know. That might be subject to interpretation, I suppose. All right, so there's what I had for poisons coming out. Yeah, that was all of it I had for poisons coming out of the Dungeon Master's Guide. So, Dragon Magazine, number 18, very small piece in there about poisons, right? Here's the article, effective use of poison, right? They give you your poison codes and stuff are in there as well. Give you some descriptions of what some of those things may be. And then the effect and stuff that goes with it. So instead of just all or nothing, hand straight out, here's some more extra notes that you could use with it if you wanted to. Although this early on, a Dungeons and Dragons was like brand spanking new as far as Advanced Dungeons and Dragons goes. Um, a lot of stuff that was in here could be used for D&D or AD&D, and a lot of it was centered around actual old school Dungeons and Dragons. Uh, let's see. I love this. 50% death in 4 to 16 turns. Right now, notice all these are listed as turns, right? Hemlock death in 2 to 8 turns. It could be a long time. Turn would be in 10 minutes. So I'm thinking maybe this table may have been written originally for original Dungeons and Dragons, which didn't really have, things weren't discussed in rounds and stuff. It was still, turn was generally used for either a combat turn or just or an adventuring turn. All right, poison in general, if a player does not make it saving throw, the player doesn't make its. I suppose you could have a dog or a cat being one of your players. It shall be considered poisoned. That player does not die, it is considered stricken. A stricken player will be hindered the following manner: half strength, half dex, half constitution, half movement. I think that's an excellent way of giving some additional, what's a good word for it? Not context or variety to using your poison stuff in your game, is to include something like this. Not just outright flat out dead, but you severely weakened. And at a minimum, a poison should do something like that. Let's see. In case of the unconscious, stricken takes effect upon regaining consciousness. Neutralize poison if successful. Cancel all deleterious manifestations. I love the use of grammar in here. I had to go fetch the dictionary on a regular basis when I was a kid. And I learned a lot on grammar just by reading all this stuff. Let's see. Armor will have some bearing on the outcome of an encounter here. Some simple adjustments we use toward saving throws. Plate gives you a +2 save. Chainmail +1. Right? Leather 0. No armor -2. Armor has no effect on the poisons that have been taken internally. Well, yeah. If a portion, let's say a portion of a potion is drunk, each individual portion will have its own saving throw. Plus the amounts are applicable to each other for their own separate saving throw. So here's a real short article on tweaking poisons a little bit for your game, other than just a straight flat out dead right away kind of thing, which is an interesting addition. But the next one, which is the more popular one, which was the poisons from AA to XX. Here went far more into detail on poisons. Starts right off. Poison distribution goes into more about the poisons, individual type of poisons, what they do, and aside from just that one little quick paragraph with a table that we saw in the Dungeon Master's Guide, this drills down into a greater level of detail with that same material. I love here how it opens up with: first, poison should be restricted to neutral or evil characters. No one who holds himself, of course, just the way conventions were, could be herself, right? As good may use poison, no matter how chaotic he or she may be. This restriction applies only to the use of poison on human or humanoid types. Characters are not restricted to the use of poison upon non-human monster types in the dungeon. Let's see. So where am I remembering that to purchase a vial of poison is like 500 gold pieces? Well, let's go back over to that article. Boom, boom, boom. Depends on the pool. Well, that would be your dungeon master, maybe. Right? But what type of poison are you looking at? You know, the type D poison is 500 gold pieces, right? And that's an ingestive poison, or an insinuative potion. Type C is, 600 gold pieces. Onset time of a round. Type D, onset time of a segment, 6 seconds, right? 25 hit points damage if you save it, death if you don't. That's some pretty deadly stuff, right? But that's more expensive. No, I'm not going to ignore you, Megan. You're asking some excellent questions. Excellent questions. The only dumb question is one that wasn't asked. There are no dumb questions. I will give you a stupid answer, though. All right. Let's see. Restrictions on the use of poison by alchemists are unreasonable. Well, alchemists learn to make poison, right, at 1 strength per level of experience up to 5th. So this is assuming that you have an alchemist class of some sort, or these are your alchemist NPCs, your hirelings and stuff that can make these things for you. So this article definitely drills down much further into detail on the different types of poison. Here's a good table here on the poison strengths, right? The AA, this type of poison does less than 6 hit points of damage. Suggested poisons are 1 to 3 hit points, D6 times a half, 1 to 4, D8 times a half, or 1 to 5, D10 times a half. Right, and then it goes all the way through there, all the way up further up to different strengths. Type J, 91 to 100 hit points of additional damage. Suggested poison types. Boom. Right, wow, that's a lot more. And then they do special strengths that they drill down into. The X or the double X on them. A sleep poison is a different poison. You don't necessarily have to have a poison that would kill anybody. You could make a poison or purchase a poison or something like that that puts you to sleep. Much to the what's a good word for it? Chloroform does not work the way you see it in movies. It doesn't instantly put people to sleep. It takes a little bit of time to work. Right. Jason Jacobson missed only 20 minutes. He didn't miss much. I just talked nonsense for an hour or two, so didn't miss a whole lot on there. Let's see. No, you're not on herbs yet, but would packing belladonna in a piece of meat and feeding it to a monster upset their stomach be considered using poison? Yes. Right? What is belladonna? It is. It's used for medicine, right? That's you get that foxglove and things like this, where some medicines, but it's the dose that makes a poison. Packing belladonna in a piece of meat, like literally packing it in there, would definitely make it a poison. Right. But that's, again, if you go back to that chloroform, makes me think Ace Ventura. What, that you want to be knocked out before somebody shows you that movie, or is that what? I don't know. New to playing an assassin. Good. Assassin could be a fun character class, right? If your DM allows it. So lawful good poison could poison someone's livestock. Technically speaking, based on how that paragraph there was worded, yes. Would he? Sure, why not? If you're denying resources to your enemy, that's one way of doing it. You wouldn't poison your enemy. You would straight up challenge him to a fight. Takes out the football players with chloroform. Of course he does. Oh, you can. They're not going to sit there and let you hold it over their face for a couple of minutes while it takes effect. But it's just movies. Don't believe anything you see in the movie. Don't get your medicine out of TV and the movies. Just saying. So Paladin, yes, could use poison against livestock. You justify it for me, and I might let you get away with it. And here, this article actually goes into antidotes. If you notice here towards the bottom of the page, there, antidotes swallowed and come in strength AA through X, right? Plus a sleep antidote, right? And antidotes are more stable than poisons, delivering a set number of points of poison protection. So here's where you're introduced to antidotes, not just a neutralize poison or a slow poison spell, which is only things that you had originally. This article, what is this one? Covered up my reference. Issue number 32. This article brings into there the fact that an option of having antidotes available and stuff for poisons. One of the things that you have to understand about, like, snake bites, the antidote for snake bites is specific to the type of poison that was delivered. So you could restrict it that much further down if you wanted. Okay, yeah, they hit you with a sleep poison, but which sleep poison did they hit you with? Do you have the right antidote for it? Yeah. letting you play an assassin. Wonderful. It was a good character class. I'm sad they lost it. People want to play evil parties all the time, and that was an excellent, excellent class to make, to have an evil party. Poison gas. Here's something. The question was asked a little bit earlier. This type of poison is carried as a liquid, and as soon as it is touched by air, it dissolves into a gas. Right. The gas spreads into a cloud 5x5 and affects up to 4 creatures, after which time enough of the toxin has been absorbed to neutralize further effects. Right. More than 4 creatures are within the cloud. The DM must determine which 4 are closest to the center of the cloud, and they are affected. If all of poison is not breathed in, it will last for 5 rounds, subject to wind, genies blowing it away, etc. Type of poison is used in more valuable traps, and if somehow obtained, is favorable as a missile weapon by adventurers. Yeah, you can hurl a poison gas, right? You're thinking things like chlorine gas would be a modern equivalent to something like this, but then most of your nerve agents are also, for the most part, gas clouds, or you can do things simple as chemical smoke, which is, the tear gas. It's pretty popular. That wouldn't necessarily be a killing poison, but it would certainly slow your enemy down. It would make that fog cloud quite irritating. Yeah. Let's see. Sticks to snakes with the poison. Snakes is a bit of a loophole now that I think about it. Yes. Sticks to snakes can be. What are your snakes biting? Right? If you're having them chase after large monsters or something to slow them down, they're not going to be very effective. Now, the snakes are going to do whatever the cleric orders them to do. Right? But if that monster that he's trying to order them to attack has got that thick hide, like it recommends in the Dungeon Master's Guide, it may or may not work. It may not work the way you want it to. It would just be a judgment call on the game master, and I would just say, be fair. Let's see. Next article: poison, use of toxins of Cerulon or Carolon, however you want to say it. This is a good article. This one goes into types of poison, gives them names, right? Type A, type B, type C. It gives them names, describes what the poisons look like, the damages and stuff they want to go. So if you're really drilling down into the weeds and you want to get specific on the different ones, this is a good article to look at and use these examples in your game for the different types of poisons and stuff that you can go after. I think it's an excellent resource just for ideas, if anything else. Too far over, right? Here you go. Alcohol, right? The Devil Ale. Odorless liquid, very light orange color. Does a flat 60 points of damage. Sets in 1 to 3 rounds after ingestion. Runs its course in 2 to 5. D4 plus 1 turns. No saving throw. Antidote is only hope. So hold. I guess you could look at it that way. But he's not doing it. It's snakes are the ones that are doing it. Yeah. Staff slings are meant to hurl stink pots. It wasn't explained until 2 arms and equipment. Well, you can also hurl other stuff with them, but sling is a very underrated weapon as far as that goes. Missed hurling of the pot is still effective with a radius of 20 feet, I believe. Not quite a poison, though. Stink pots is just a disruption as much as anything else, sure. But the 2E arms and equipment. So there's where they detail it. I don't recall anything like that in 1E. But you can use anything you want from any game you like in your game. You feel like that's not a bad idea. Not necessarily so much for a stink pot, but like a smoke grenade or something of that nature as well, right? Let's see. So lots of nice ideas on different types of poison. Here's your insinuative poison, troll's blood. I don't know if it is actually really troll's blood, but maybe you could say troll's blood is actually a poison. A grayish-green liquid, sounds like a troll, right? Does 4 to 32, 48, starts in 1 to 4 rounds, runs its course in 1 to 6 rounds. save for no damage. Right. Silver Lightning sounds like another drink there, doesn't it? But just to give some different Pink Lightning. There you go. There's a drink right there. No, Pink Whitney is what it is. Okay. Pinkish Fluid does 5 to 20, starts in 1 to 6 rounds, runs its course in 1 to 3 rounds, save for half damage. Made it -4. Right. They bring the staff sling and they speak to that, but they don't give you the ammo to the sling. Just the range is much shorter because of it. All right. Well, that's probably why I don't know a whole lot about it, because UA is not something I like a whole lot of. No. Golden Fool. Hey, that'd be a good name for this channel now. Gold Powder. Touch does 4 to 8. Starts in 1 round, runs its course in 1 to 8 rounds, save for half damage, made it -3. Undetectable when used on golden colored objects. Otherwise, it leaves a pale gold discoloration when applied. If I'm going to use this, I'm just go ahead and go with yellow mold, right? Slow Poison says, any venom. What about poison not from a monster? Yeah, there's where wording matters, right? I think it's implied that any poison, not just a venom from a particular monster or something like that, but any poison would be slowed with a slow poison spell. I don't know that it was ever really fully specified. That may have been something that had come out in a Sage Advice or something at one time, but that's how I would rule it. That's the whole point behind slow poison, is to stop all of that stuff, not necessarily a monster venom. Yeah. Stephen Kennedy says, I really enjoy this channel. I think he's been into the herbs already, and we haven't even got there yet. Well, I do appreciate you enjoying this channel there, Stephen Kennedy. I appreciate it. I like doing it, and as long as you guys like listening to it, I'll keep doing it. Right. So here we go with a bunch of ghoul sweat. There we go. A scummy green gel used like the chayapa. Smells like rotten meat. Well, duh. And its effect is to paralyze, right, for 5 to 10 rounds. Acts immediately, save for no effect, made it a +1. Hey, so you could harvest the sweat from a ghoul. That might be a challenge in and of itself, and use it as a paralytic poison. Right. Yeah, wording can be important in this game. Yes, it can, especially if your DM is one of those wish lawyers. Wording is definitely important. Yeah. And one more article that I picked out there for poisons. These are the only ones that I can find that specifically address poisons themselves, is taking the sting out of poison. Another view on how to use toxic cocktails. All right. I would stay away from that club, the one that had toxic cocktails. Aside from that, why another article about poison? The thing about this one is this guy goes into his reasons why the last article we looked at on poison types, which was 79. Oh, come on, I covered it up again. 32, right? He goes into why 32 had some problems, or his issues and stuff that he had. Well, thank you, Joe Kaufman. I appreciate it. You guys are too kind. He goes into his issues as to why these things weren't, why the other article wasn't all that great. For instance, nothing of any substance is mentioned in the Dungeon Master's Guide about antidote, contact poisons, gas, monster venoms. Right? Very little was in there about it. It was up to the Dungeon Master to kind of do those sorts of things. Page 20, like I pointed out. Poison potions must be ingested, but on page 127, description of poison potions implies that the potion could be used as an insinuative or a contact potion. So there were some contradictions in there. Wording matters. I don't know if so contradictions, just the way things were worded or changed a little bit differently. Because it seems to me like the Dungeon Master's Guide, all it was a collection of all Gary Gygax's notes and other notes from other players that he put together in a book. and they didn't really go through to do a whole lot of editing to make sure A worked with B or too much. So you had some room in there for wiggle room, right? So he mentions Charles Sagwe's article, Poison from AA to Double X, in the December 79 issue of Dragon magazine, reprinted in Best of Dragon Volume 2, was an excellent exercise in overhauling the rules on poison. Presented a wide range of poisons in four major groups, including the interaction of the Assassin's Guild into the distribution of poison. So if you're using the Assassin's Guild, all the points in that other one were how you could use your Assassin's Guild for all these sorts of things. Right? However, Sagwe's system had some flaws. First, prices are unreasonably expensive. And the DMG, the A incendiative poison would do 15 hit points of damage and cost 10 gold pieces. A comparatively potent poison in Sagwe's system would cost 1,800 gold pieces. That is a big difference. Right? So, mesh the one with the other. And what he does in this article, it's an excellent article. I love reading through it, was go through and tweak a lot of those things and make some adjustments and stuff to them. Poison usage by characters. In the AD&D world, there are 5 separate groups of poisons: ingestive poison, insinuative poison, contact poison, poisonous gas, and monster venom. The first 4 types can be bought in any large town or city. These poisons are manufactured for the most part by and for assassins. The Assassin's Guild in each town controls the local use of poison. Assassins, therefore, have unlimited use of poison. So if you're using 2E, this goes out the window because you don't have assassins, right? There we go. Holy and unholy waters, right, should be are known for their special corrosive effect upon enforcers of evil. So he's adding in another use, his own effect for holy water and things like this against bad guys or good guys, right? Unholy water acts as poison enhancer. Also, you could throw unholy water on a paladin and harm him with it, that kind of stuff. Oh, puns. I love puns. Points scored by Megan. Yes. And Gonzalo knows I love puns. I think he mutes me on game night. Yeah. So there's a reworking of that particular table that came out of the other one. So compare the two, take the things that you like out of the both of them, I think, but he makes his poisons as far as cost and prices and things like this a little more reasonable. Part of the price is the bribe to keep quiet about who bought the poison. Okay, if you want to look at it that way, sure. That would certainly make something worth 1,800 gold pieces. Yeah. No. You can buy the poison and then turn around and dime you out to the local citizens watch there before you even leave, right? Oh, that was also detailed in all of this stuff too. You know, how honorable is it, the person that you buy some poisons and stuff from? What would happen? Would they turn you in after you bought it? That kind of thing. Nice list. Love just the art, the simple art like this. Gives you some idea what's going on. All right. Possible uses of ingested poison, right? Comes on right here, hitting with ingested poisons. How often are you able to feed a monster in a dungeon? Here you go, right? Everybody says, I'm going to throw this poison vial into the monster's mouth. Okay. Right, here comes some advice on running that, right? Most adventurers are not going to sit down and enjoy a brunch with a troglodyte. No, probably not. Right? Though unlikely, it is not impossible to trick some monsters into eating poison food. Well, there you go with your belladonna and your haunch of roast mutton, right? How about offering hungry-looking rust monsters some spiked spikes? Could be. Being chased by a purple worm or a shambling mound, take out the canned shrieker that you luckily remember to bring along and drop it on the floor after spicing it with some delectably deadly herbs. Right. Right. Those are, like it says, possible uses of ingested poisons against monsters, but a more likely way of using them, including the sleep versions, is to hurl those vials into the monster's jaws. The general rule is that to be able to throw a poison vial into a monster's mouth, the player must state beforehand that his character is trying to do so, and then the character must score a missile hit against the monster at an armor class 4 places better than the normal armor class of the monster because of the difficulty of hitting such a specific and relatively small target. This also assumes that the target creature is stupid enough or angry enough to be standing or approaching a thrower with his jaws agape. Aha. Creatures with at least moderate intelligence will realize what's about to happen just before the vial is thrown and will probably close their mouths immediately. And obviously, this tactic will not work at all against creatures with no mouth as we know it. I said it was for rats. Okay. All right. Insinuative poisons are also known as blade venoms, right? It can be used only to coat weapons in order to give the weapon more damage potential. And again, if we go back to the guidance from the Dungeon Master's Guide, doing so highlights the fact that the weapon has been coated with some sort of poison. And there's something sticking to it or dripping off of it, the discoloration and that kind of thing. Generally, swords, polearms, arrows, darts, and the like can be coated with poison. Blunt weapons, such as those used by clerics, cannot be envenomed. Well, but the whole point behind those isn't necessarily to break the skin or inject metal underneath the skin, but it's to bash the armor and cause bruising and fractures and stuff. But it doesn't mean they don't break the skin. But this is just one way of saying, nope, clerics can't use it. This type of poison, since it's water-based, can be washed off. However, prolonged use of this poison can be dangerous. Every time an envenomed weapon is sheathed or unsheathed, and during every round the weapon is used in combat, there's a chance, depending on the wielder's dexterity, the character could be nicked by his own weapon and infected by his own poison. Now, it does say this, if I remember correctly, in the player's handbook, that an assassin could be poisoned by his own weapon. But I think here it explains things a little bit better. There's the selection there on how to rule it based on dexterity and stuff like this. Coats per dose, right? The different size of the weapon determines how many coatings requires to put a single dose on the weapon, right? For a dart, it's pretty easy. It's pretty small. Hit the tips, arrows, a little easier as well. Then you go as far as things like dagger, up to short sword, scimitar. No, broadswords, long swords, bastard swords require a lot more poison. That's what we got here. Now, dirty cooking habits wouldn't be using poison, right? Watch out for that lettuce, folks. Lettuce spray. Joe Kaufman getting in on the pun game here, right? Dirty cooking habits wouldn't be intentional use of poison. There you go. So your paladin poisoned his party because he sucks as a cook, not because he hated all of them. Yeah. So there's a lot of detail in this article about the different types of poisons and how they take effect, the strength, the cost, and stuff. There's some great information used in here if you wanted to drill down that far into the level of using poisons. So you had an assassin, or you had players that wanted to use poison a little more often. Start including this sort of thing in it to make it a little more descriptive, a little more fun, and that kind of stuff for them. Contact poisons are listed here, right? That would be even more dangerous for somebody to try to use a contact poison. Again, coatings and stuff like this come on here. And then the poison gases, it covers different types of poison gases and everything in this article as well. This is an excellent article, right? This is magazine number 81. Good article if you wanted to include and use poisons in there. I might make some adjustments to some of the what he said in here as far as that stuff goes. His thoughts and stuff. What I would go for. Monster venoms, right? Available doses in the monster. Ant, the giant ant's got one dose, right? Whereas Wyvern's got 6 doses in there. What Purple Worm has the most? Well, of course, he's going to have the biggest venom sac, right? And the different, what monster venoms, what they do. Ooh, state of catalepsy, 1 to 6 days, 25% chance to die. I didn't see that one earlier. That is a single star pseudo dragon. Aha, nice. Double star paralyzed stingray. Ooh, right. Chance percent. Here we go. Okay, let's recover the poison from these monsters. And here is a nice little table of information on recovering these poisons and what the likelihood of being able to get to them. Right? Wounded and killed by blunt weapons only, incapacitated when it had all of its hit points, 95% chance of recovering the venom. Whereas wounded and killed by sharp weapons and or destructive spells, not incapacitated before death, 10% chance of recovering. Right. Again, they cover antidotes in here as well. The purpose of an antidote is to counteract poison in the victim's system. Antidotes do not restore hit points already lost because of poison. It just stops the poisoning, right? Antidotes are always in liquid form when used and are always ingested. They come in 4-ounce doses, just like poisons do. Right, and the poisons come in different basic types to account for the different types of poisons as well. The antidotes come in different types. Another more tables on the different types of poisons and stuff. Poison potions indicated in here, right? The different types of poisons that you could get out of a poison potion other than just a straight poison potion. Here's some more information that you can use, and then where did the poison potion come from? How was it made? Some more and different table on the like Medusa. Ooh, that would be a nice poison there, right? Okay, let's see. Final words. Character saving throws against poison should be made in secret by the DM unless the character has prior knowledge of the poison, such as he witnesses a blade being envenomed before it strikes him. Non-exceptional cases, the character should not know that he has been poisoned until the poison actually takes effect at the end of the onset time. Kind of handy there, because if you do, oh man, I've been poisoned, I've got a few minutes to go get an antidote or something, whereas he doesn't really know until it starts to take effect. The use of this system is, of course, optional. It may not be important to go into this much detail in a campaign where characters only use poison infrequently, right? But since poisonous monsters are always poisonous, section on monster envenoms may be useful to almost anyone. Right? Let's see. Are you involved in any other 1E games aside from Delvers? Are you going to join in on Dooms when he gets it going? I don't know. I don't think. I'm pretty sure he would probably extend me an invitation. That would be a lot of fun. I do have a Friday night 1E game that I am running, and Gonzalo is actually on that Friday night game with me there. And I have a Monday night game with some old friends that I've, like a couple of these guys I've been playing with since I was 14. Thank God for the internet now that I get to play with people that I don't get to see every day because they live in Vegas, right? So I run 2 1E games. Every now and then I'll run one shot with Old School Essentials and stuff, but I may try 1E with that as well. So yes, I am involved in other games aside from Delvers. And if Doom invites me, I may consider it. Depends on the night when it's available. Again, like I've got a Monday night game and a Friday night game going. So he may not put it on a night that I can do so. On Wednesday, I was playing 1E a little bit with my brother, but he switched his game to Savage Worlds. And we've been playing a Savage Worlds game, which has been a lot of fun. It's an interesting game. I like it. Let's see. Barbarians and Hyperborea may draw poison from victims of being poisoned. Kind of neat. Yeah, that's probably because they watched TV and they watched guys suck poison, rattlesnake poison out of somebody's thigh. So that's where that came from, right? Yeah, Kruniak the Ranger is on the Friday game. Yeah. So I heard last night there's a Baron Munchausen game. Ooh, interesting. That's a news one to me. So let's go back to this one here. Barbarians and Hyperborea may draw poison from victims of being poisoned. Kind of neat. Yeah, I bet you that's where that idea came from. That you used to be able to suck the poison out of somebody. That didn't work. Right. So they said stop doing that because you're just drawing the poison into your mouth, and the chances of poisoning yourself not good. Right. And think of the optics on that. What does it look like out in the middle of the field? You're squatted down next to somebody sucking on his leg. I don't think that has a good appearance to it. Maybe. Yeah. He wants to have multiple games in the same world with multiple DMs, as I recall. Okay, that would be interesting. Could play as well as run. So, kind of like a round robin West Marches style. Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah. So here we go. That's everything I got as far as poisons and stuff go. It's some excellent questions tonight on poisons. So let's go into the other one here. Let's go to herbs, spices, and medicinal vegetables. I am pretty sure my dad would choke on that one. He absolutely hates vegetables. Oh, because my grandfather drove a produce truck up and down Route 9 in upstate New York for decades. Brought home all the expiring vegetables for his family to eat. Yeah. So, in Appendix J is really where they actually give you some pointers. Um, not as good as Time Bandits. I heard it's all Time Bandits. Time Bandits has got to be one of my favorite movies. Um, last summer, I made my eldest grandson watch it with me. I wanted my middle grandson to watch it with me this summer, but he wasn't interested in it. So I almost like disowned him and threw him out the window. But maybe I'll convince my granddaughter next summer to watch Time Bandits. I think it's one of the coolest, nifty. Oh, going into movies for tonight. Buckaroo Banzai. Buckaroo Banzai was silly and fun. I liked it. So Appendix J, herbs, spices, and medicinal vegetables. There are hundreds of different vegetable flavorings and seasonings which were or are reputed to have medicinal and or magic properties. It is not within the scope of this work to detail all of these herbs and spices, particularly as regards to their description, habitat, and the many uses claimed for most. An alphabetical listing with one or two comments on each is presented. Dedicated herbologist will have to pursue his or her research in scholarly texts. Right. So that's all they give you in the Dungeon Master's Guide. It's just this. So it's up to you to go from there. Um, some of these are useful. I mean, when we started this, Doom Swords and I, we were talking about character generation, and he had rolled up a ranger, is where the subject of herbs and stuff had come up, and the fact that there was very limited information in this game for the ranger. Because if you think of uh, Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, he knew all about plants and stuff because he was grabbing healing plants and these sorts of things out in the woods to take care of the hobbits and his party, right? But that was missing from this game. So all I gave you was just some hints on what some different things did. So take it a step further if you've got druids or rangers in your group, and give them some things that they can do as far as herbs and things goes, right? Let's see. The aconite, monk's hood, wolf's bane, friar's cap, etc. Sedative, it drives off werewolves. Of course it does, yeah. Right. there's other things and stuff in here too. What would be good one for aloe? Perfect, right? Bites, burns, laxative if you eat it, right? Tonic or insect repellent. Amaranth, right? That's the red coxcomb or localized bleeding. It's an astringent for anti-hemorrhaging. It's be useful. Hey, bleeding out, so you put this on the make a poultice and put it on a bleeding wound or something. So there's some notes in here of things that you could use, and there's a lot of them. Just some examples and stuff to start with. But you could take it a step further than just this listing here. Mustard, it's an emetic, counter irritant, colds and fevers. Right, nutmeg, good for nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, or Pepto-Bismol, right? Horseradish, it's a tonic, it's an antiseptic, it's a wormer. Ooh, nice. Because parasites is something that you can pick up. Which issue is this? What I'm reading from at present is 220 and 221 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. This isn't an issue. This is the Dungeon Master's Guide, Appendix J. That's what I'm looking at right at the moment. Right. This is basically all the guidance you get on plants as far as first edition Dungeons and Dragons goes from the books, other than the fact that rangers and druids can recognize them. Well, recognize what? So, and here's, let's see, was he using plant herb to draw the poison from the wounds? Yeah, and I think if I remember right, he put it on the, it's been such a long time since I read the books. He put it on the Morgul blade wound to try and stop the poison from the Morgul blade from spreading. The Kingsfoil, which was an amazing herb that came from that world, right? So let's go into more information. Article magazine number 82. We left off with 81, and they followed that up by issue number 82, Wounds and Weeds, plants that can help keep characters alive, right? This article is intended for use as a supplement for the AD&D trademark game system. It is not intended as a guide to woodland plants for players to find and eat themselves. Eating strange plants is a very risky thing to do and is best left to experts. It should also be remembered that even experts can make dangerous or fatal mistakes. Right? Let's see. What about rhubarb and jewelry? Well, let's take a look. Rhubarb and jewelry. See, jewel weed, balsam weed, pill, touch me not. All right, it's a diuretic. Okay, nice. Dehydrates your kidneys. Right, so it keeps your that's why it's a diuretic. Keeps your kidneys flowing. Skin growths, fungus infections. Right, liver. Ooh, that was for jewel weed. Let's see, rhubarb. PQ. Rhubarb, it's an astringent and a cathartic. Nice. See, so they give you some examples and stuff in there that you can get, that you can use. Right. Let me go back to issue number 82, Wounds and Weeds. Right, so here you go in a little more detail. For that editor's note opening paragraph, I will say everything is edible. Some things only once. So don't try it unless you absolutely know what it is. There have been people that have poisoned themselves experimenting with mushrooms and plants out in the woods. So I had to put this disclaimer in, right? Because clearly somebody was going to try. Right? There's a nice little story leading up into it, right? And then he goes into different types of weeds. So in addition to the ones that are listed in there, here's some plants, I wouldn't say weeds, right? Herbs and plants that you could supplement your game with that would have more game effect and stuff with it other than just what you saw in that simple little table. Someone ate snails for the first time. So, yes, right. And a specific type of snail. Do not eat all snails. Well, there's a couple of snails that are actually pretty good. You got the freshwater snails that are escargot, right? And then we've got the saltwater snails like conch. That's an excellent one right there. So there's a few. Just what were people thinking when they tried some of these things? That's what I got to wonder. Well, as I understand it, for the longest time, um, nobody ate tomatoes. They ate the leaves off the tomato plant, which are actually still pretty good, with vitamins and stuff that go with them. But nobody ate the actual tomatoes because the old adage is if it's got a red berry, it's poisonous. Well, a tomato is a red berry. And then somebody decided to take a chance and eat one and just figured out that they're not so bad. So here's a good article for a list of extra plants and stuff that you can use, like garlic. Nice, right? So then these are real plants like juniper berry, garlic. You can use these sorts of St. John's wort, right? Um, that you can add to your game over and above what was listed in the Dungeon Master's Guide. There's just a handful of nice, handy extra herbs that you could use for your game to give that ranger something to go find and go dig up. Because he describes their environment and stuff that you find them. Location for sphagnum moss, right? Sphagnum moss is found in wet, boggy spots. Sometimes moss is so thick that it may appear to be solid ground until someone steps on it and gets wet feet. Right. So there you go. That you can find it and what it's used for. So this is some garlic is a component of slow poison, I believe. Probably is. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't doubt it. Well, let's see. What does it say about garlic in this article here? Garlic. Let's see. Game effect. The antiseptic properties of garlic are such that a wound will heal more rapidly and without a chance of infection. Wounded characters will recover 2 hit points per day for the first 3 days after application. If garlic is used as an insect repellent, and well, it's also probably a pretty good people repellent too, the juice must be rubbed generously over exposed body parts. This repellent has 50% chance of working against attacking insects, giant or otherwise. If used to ease bites and stings, garlic juice can be used 1 time per injury to restore 1 hit point that was lost from either bite or sting or the poisonous effect of that attack. All right. And there's extra paragraph stuff too. So, right, so some extra information here about some of those listed herbs and plants and stuff that were on that page. More details for it. Give your druid, give your ranger something else to go hunt and look for. Issue number 269. Here's where expanding the herbalism proficiency for herb craft. Right, because remember, second editions went hard into non-proficiencies. Let's see. How do you utilize speak with plants, and would it come in handy with useful or dangerous plants? Maybe you'd make them feel bad for picking the plants after taking them with them. Yeah. I've actually had nobody cast speak with plants. Nobody seems to find any interest in it, which kind of disappoints me. They're out there looking for something in the woods, and who knows more about who passes through the woods than the plants that they're walking over, right? So it's useful to speak with plants and then have a discussion with the plants. Oh, look at this carrot. It looks like it might be worth eating, and then speak with plants on it so it argues with you about, no, don't pick me. Right, so we're expanding on the herbalism non-weapon proficiency, right? Non-weapon proficiency rules and player options, skills and powers add only a little information explaining how many herbs a proficient character can find in a day and how many doses it takes to brew a poison. right? One remedy to this lack of information is create long lists of every possible mundane and magical herb. And I know some DMs that go that far into it, right? Where they can be found, what they can do, and how to prepare them. This task requires a lot of work from the DM and a great deal of bookkeeping for players. Hours of gameplay could be spent dealing with an herbalist's quest to refill a depleted store. While this sort of interaction could be the basis for a game in itself, it's distracting during most sessions and is likely to leave other players bored. Yeah, nobody. I don't know very many people that like to role play shopping. Right. For most herb users, the game effect is not worth so much real world effort. Simpler alternative is to expand on the herb pool idea presented in skills and powers, rather than specify exactly how much of each herb a character has. The player simply tracks how many doses of herbs the character has available. Each use of the herbalism non-weapon proficiency consumes one or more dosage of general herbs. Right, so you could be generalized with it, right, or you can go drill down into details and have extra ones. So this is a whole article on that herbalism stuff to include things like magical herbs um, that they've added and stuff to it. I like the little thing about the author. Although Owen has always been fascinated by plants and herbs, and even has a sister named Fern, his black thumb has so far succeeded in killing any vegetation left at his mercy. Condolences may be sent to him at ostevens@aol.com. Little Shop of Horrors. Um, being interesting there. I do that one of my players on the Monday night game of the first ever Dungeon Master I ever played with went nuts with plants. One of the most frightening things you can do his game is leave the city into the countryside where there are plants. He's got all sorts of things out there. And I think some of them were named because he was a big fan of the Xanth series of novels, which everything is a pun. Right? And there were some dangerous plants and stuff that went with those stories. But there are some deadly plants and stuff that he's got out there. Like elephant grass doesn't sound like it would be fun to go find. Sawgrass, yeah, that's what it's going to do. Right. So it makes things a little bit interesting with his vegetation. Let's see, 273. This is an excellent article as well. Van Richten's Legacy, right? Wicked Garden by, looks like the same author, right? Owen Stevens, right? So he seems to like herbs and went a little further into it with this one. And this one, everybody knows Van Richten, so somehow or another, everybody seems to have Ravenloft as one of their favorite settings, and I absolutely cannot stand it. But neither here nor there. Van Richten's herbal notes, even before Rudolf Van Richten's life took the tragic turn, it eventually made him the demiplane of Dread's foremost expert on the paranatural. He was a knowledgeable herbalist. All right, so this is going through a list of different extra plants you want to add to them. Right, he comes up with different plants with some different effects and stuff like this on them as well. Some additional information if you wanted to add these into your game as well. And if you do like the Ravenloft setting, here you go. Here's some things that you can use directly with Ravenloft. I probably lost all my viewers because I said I don't like Ravenloft. Loved Xanth when I was 10. I still love Xanth. Xanth is excellent. It is one of those groaner books to read. A Spell for Chameleon is good. An excellent book. Need to make my grandkids read it and stuff too. Great fantasy series. And he even said he's the only guy who's ever put $10 into 10 books into a trilogy. A lot of really, really good, fun books to read. Piers Anthony, yes, and his map of his world is basically Florida. Let's see. Anybody see The Happening? Here goes another one, right? I should have found that article. I'll have to look that one up too. Triffids. Triffids were from a movie called Day of the Triffid, and that is a plant-like creature, which is a plant kind of, but it was an alien, right? And they killed people by spreading pollen. Yeah, terrible but funny. Yeah, Day of the Triffid, I think, is the name of the film. And there was a Dragon Magazine article about the Triffid monster. Be an interesting one. I didn't think about that one. I was thinking about more mundane, but less actively harmful plants. Although that's some ideas to add to my game. Things like huge pitcher plants and Venus flytraps and stuff would be kind of fun. But again, he's got listed extra herbs and stuff, red caps, mushrooms, right? And things of the Ravenloft setting that you could actually pull them out and use them in your own settings. And the last one I have on here, right? Alchemy begins in the forest, from field to cauldron, right? Alchemists can practice the arcane art of combining seemingly innocuous ingredients to produce substances with incredible properties. But where do these ingredients come from? A significant portion of what goes into an alchemist's labors can be found in the wilderness. Some of what is considered alchemy is sophisticated herb lore with an unusual twist. What the herbalist overlooks, however, the alchemist treasures, or sometimes when coupled with other reagents, even the most innocent weed can reveal astounding properties. Right? Ooh. Let's see some more comments here. We got Swords and Stones says greetings. Thank you. Greeting there, Swords and Stones. Glad to have you here, checking in on us here. I like utility stuff. Plants and herbs are fantastic. Yeah, it's a good topic. It's flavor for your game, right? Players like to do all sorts of different things, and you might find one of the reasons why somebody wanted to play a druid isn't not so much they can change into a bear, is that they have knowledge of plants and herbs and things, and it's just something they were interested in as a player, right? And you can give them that sort of thing in the game, brings them into the game better, more immersion out of it, right? Curry powder, perfect. Yes, this is a blending of different herbs and spices. It's one of my favorite combinations. In fact, I've had curry powder. When was it? With my Monday night dinner, I did some stir fry and add curry powder to it. It's getting a little spicier than I can tolerate these days, but it's still not bad. Let's see. First thing I used when I was a magic user, I was pretty useless. No, magic users are not useless. I'm probably going to go and do a nice special video on magic users and what to do with magic users other than throw their one spell. Right, that is your research arm of the party. These guys spend their entire life pouring through books. They have knowledge and stuff that you can tap into. Not as much as a sage, not as much as, say, the bard does, whose whole life is books, right? But they should have a lot of extra information and things that they can do based on knowledge. Gandalf cast very few spells. Hobbit Leaf, Tolkien being a pipe smoker, Hobbit Leaf was tobacco. Here we go. Puns. I love puns. The roux of the game. Yes. So this article is an excellent article on alchemy, bringing in creating things. They give you, but since it's based, this is third edition, because of the age of the article and stuff when it came out. Right, so you're going to find things in here like difficulty classes to create and stuff, but that's not to say that you can't use it in your game, right? Here's some more ideas and stuff that you can take and just adapt it to your first edition environment. Let me go put this up here. Yes, exactly right. This meant I was able to gather healing flowers to add to the party as a way to be more than just my one spell. Exactly right. Magic users aren't just throw one spell and then stand there doing nothing and absorb missile damage from the enemies. There's a lot more that they can do other than just stand around after they kick off their spell. But I like this article from the standpoint there's some pretty cool descriptions of some of the herbs and plants and stuff that they are listed in here, what they're used for, the alchemist creating them. So if you don't have alchemists specifically in your game, there's going to be one in the city, and he may send you on a quest or something. Yes, I will fix this for you if you go find me this out somewhere. Or a great story hook or something. We need to gather up these things for the alchemist to make this particular thing that we can solve this other problem with. So it's another excellent article on plants and stuff for use in your game. But again, this is for 3rd edition, but again, you can always fix it and change it, make it your own edition. Wow, we're hitting up on an hour and 17 minutes, not too bad for talking about nonsense for a little while. I've had some excellent questions tonight. Pretty much all I had as far as all the articles and stuff go in the Dragon magazine specifically related to either poisons or to herbs and plants and stuff. Black Lotus, Stygian, the best. Right? Everybody that's watched Conan knows that one. They were just munching on it to, supplement their beverages with the effects of the Black Lotus, right? Excellent questions and stuff that we had on this discussion tonight. So I pretty much hit up on the end of the things that I had for this particular episode. I don't get any more questions, and I will go ahead and put a cap on this one. Again, send me comments, send me questions, put in suggestions for anything else that you want me to cover, go over, find for you, give you my opinion on, and you can take that to whatever you want to with it. Because I do get questions from you guys here or there as how I would handle something. I'd maybe just give you some ideas as an alternative opinion on it. Whereas most of what I've read tonight, I'm not going to use most of. Let's see, I would go back to this one. This is probably, for the most part, as deep into detail as I would get with poisons. Because I don't have anybody that uses them. I don't have anybody with assassins or anything in the game. So I may tweak the system a little bit with this and leave it at that. But you can do whatever level of detail you want. Like if somebody wants to create something and use poisons a little more often, then I would drill down and go a little more detail. Flexible enough. What's next? Not sure. Haven't decided what I wanted to go into next. Somebody made a suggestion about poisons and stuff, so I went ahead and started talking about it. I'll kick around some ideas. I'll take some ideas from what your comments are, and go from there of what could come up next. Some other game ideas and stuff to go with 1st edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. They cover some other things in the rules that I think need to be mentioned, but I'll have to go digging through what's in there. You are welcome to this information in there, right? And you're not supposed to know that part that came in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Just saying, that's you're not supposed to know that at 9th level you can create your own poisons. Just saying, you're not supposed to know that. Don't let your DM know that I told you that. Alrighty, well, I'm going to go ahead and call it at this point. Let me pull that one away. Thanks for joining me here on the Great Old Ones channel for another talk about AD&D 1E, poisons and herbs. I'll kick around some ideas what to do next. Ooh, here's a good question. Well, let me run off before questions are fully. Did you ever use Arduino with your AD&D? No, I've read Arduino. There's some parts of Arduino I liked. One of the things I liked about Arduino was a fireball, say, did 22 points of damage, because that's all the dice. Well, that 22 points of damage wasn't per person in the fireball. It was divvied up amongst everybody in the fireball. That was an interesting take in the way that run. So there's some good things I liked about Arduino. I'll pull ideas and stuff out of it. I would love to get some copies of actual original materials and stuff. You can't find that stuff. That stuff's so expensive on the internet. Everybody wants to be a collector. All right, Joe Kaufman, I'll think of some questions and send them your way. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah. Something you want me to cover, something you want to think of, I'll take a look around and see. I'll look back over what I've covered, and is there any other finer points that I wanted to get into and go into that as well, so we can talk about AD&D 1E again next Thursday, because there's still a lot in it that we can keep going on and on about, and I will go on and on about it because I really love this game. All right, much appreciated. Thanks again for joining me here on the Great Old Ones channel for talk about herbs and poisons. Not necessarily both together at the same time, but it could happen. I'll catch you guys again next Thursday. Please like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for notifications if you need it. If you feel the need to support me, please buy me a coffee. Again, I will reiterate that I have had a benefactor or a supporter in Dungeon Master D. He went ahead and bought me a coffee a little while ago, and I'll try to remember to include anybody else that does, to acknowledge, psionics example fight. Yeah, that would be a good one. Talk about psionics and how it actually works and drill down into psionics itself. I'll put that one on the list of things that we could cover. All right, so thanks. Good night, guys, and I will catch you all on the next stream. Thanks again for joining me. Oh, my buttons aren't working. Here we go.